Today I'm going to start a new series of videos on Python programming, and we will build concepts from one video to the next. Today I'm starting about by using different sorts of variables in Python, and in this video we are going to learn about what variables are, how we can name them in Python syntax, how we can assign values and know the types of the values stored in the variables, and how we can swap values between the variables, and what are some of the best practices and common mistakes which some users can do in writing Python code. So what do we mean by a variable? A variable is simply a container which stores data like numbers and text, and examples can be like age equal to 25, or if you want to store a string like hello Python, you can also store it in a variable. Let's say we call it a message. So variables basically hold values that can change from time to time. Even in one program you can assign new new values to the same variable, and like other programming languages you don't need to declare types of variables explicitly. So because Python is dynamically typed, what does it mean? I don't have to write like int before age as I have to do in Java, or for example in C++. Similarly, I don't have to declare the variable message to be of type string like I might have to do in other programming languages. So we also need to know about the naming conventions for the variables or the naming rules. So in Python, a variable must start with a letter or an underscore. For example, you can name the variable as name or underscore count. So these will be valid variable names in Python syntax, like many other programming languages. You cannot start a variable name with a number. So for example, you cannot say that a variable starts with a 2 or a 3 or something. So it's not a valid variable name in Python. So Python's variables are case sensitive. So if you declare a variable with capital A and this is not equal to a variable with the same characters with the smaller a, starting with a small a. So we should avoid the reservoir like print or for, which are defined in the language for serving different purposes. So here are some examples of variables. You can have a variable user underscore name, and it keeps the value or stores the value Alice. Another variable is of type integer and store the value 100. The last one is underscore valid, and it is storing the value true. It is of type boolean. So some common types of variables which are available in Python are integer. For example, you can have an integer of variable x having a value 10, and another variable float, which are basically decimal numbers or floating point numbers. For example, we can name a variable pi and it contains the value 3.14. Another variable name which contains a string called pop, and another variable is underscore student, which takes a value true. And if you want to check the type of a variable in Python, you just need to type the command type and pass it the variable which whose value you want to know, and it will give you the type of that variable. So I have the option if I'm using an ID called, like for example, Google Colab, I can just write type and pass it the variable name whose type I want to know. It will give me that type. And if I make use of the print command, then I have to enclose another set of parentheses, and it will show me the output like this, that class int enclosing these angle brackets. So here are some assignments to variables. You can assign different values to variables. For example, here x is getting the value 5, which is of type integer, and y is getting the value string, which is Python. You can also do multiple assignments in one statement to different variables. For example, in this case, a, b, c get the value 1, 2, or 3, and it means I can assign in the same order, variable A getting value 1, variable B getting value 2, and variable C getting value 3. And I can also all the variables, for example x, y, z, to a certain value. For example, in this case they are assigned the value 0, all set to 0. We can swap the values of variables without having a temporary variable in Python. For example, if I use this syntax, a comma b is equal to b, it means it will swap the values of a and b, whatever is contained in them. So in Python, it is also possible that variables can change types and values. In many other languages, variables can change values. For example, x is currently 10. It can be 15 at another instance in the program. But generally, it is not allowed in programming languages like Java and C++ that variable change their type. But in Python, they can change types also. For example, here it is containing an integer data, but just a few lines below it is containing a string type of data. So in this case, after this assignment, if I print the value of x, it will not complain, but print the value whatever is stored in it, which is a string according to Python's syntax. So Python is flexible, but we need to avoid confusing reassignments. So another type of variables are local and global variables. Like in other languages, global variables are accessible throughout the program. For example, if we declare a global variable like this global underscore var, which contains the string I am global, and now I define a function. I will get to functions later on here, just to show that we can define a function by this def keyword, then the function name, followed by a couple of parentheses and this colon, and then after this a few spaces and indentation, which shows the body of the function. Here I declare a variable local underscore var, and it has a string I am local, and inside the body of the function I print the global variable which I declared here, and it works. It will show you some output that global variable contains I am global. Now I call the function myfunc, and it has these two variables. Sorry, it has this local variable which is I am local, and it will print the global variable again. And now if I want to print the local variable, it is no more accessible. It is just accessible within this block of the function. So it is not available outside this block of the function. So the function, the variable which is declared inside the body of the function is the local variable, and the variable which is accessible throughout the program is a global variable. So the key point is variable inside functions are local by default. So some good practices or best practices for programming in Python: we should use descriptive names. For example, I can declare a variable or use a variable user underscore age instead of UA, which is not very descriptive. And it is a good practice that we make use of snake case. What do we mean by snake case? It is, for example, if the variable name is consisting of two words, so it should be like max underscore value, and it should be in the same case, not like max value. This type of case is called the camel case, in which the first word is in small case and the first letter of the next word is in the capital case. So we need to avoid the reserved word of a language, and the same goes with Python. We cannot make use of reserved word which are given by Python to perform specific tasks. So here are a couple of good examples. Student underscore count contains 30, and course underscore name contains Python underscore basics. So here again, an example of case sensitivity. We declare the variable name with a capital N, and we try to print it with a small n. So Python will not recognize this variable because it has not been declared with the same syntax as it is here in this line. So it will complain and it will give you an error. Unintended reassignment: if you have a value of integer 5 in x and you change it to string 5, it is allowed in Python that you can change the type of a variable from one type to another. but this might not give you the result if you want to have some operation performed on integers. So if you try to use a reserve word for containing a value or can hold a value, so this is not going to work. It is going to break the print function, which is used to serve a specific purpose of printing different things in Python. So we learned about how variables store data. We learned about how to name them clearly and how to follow certain rules. And Python handles types dynamically. And we also learned about local and global variables and how the scope of local variables is just within the body of the function and the global variables scope is throughout the program. So for learning more and to become good programmers, we should remember that practice makes us perfect. So as an exercise, you can create variables for name, age, and favorite color. You can also try swapping numbers without a temporary variable, as I showed you a few slides ago. And you can try fixing the error in this statement. Here, I can just give you the hint. I can just give you a hint. Probably you need to look on the first part of the variable name. So now we can do some exercise. So let's declare a variable called age and give it a value 5. And if I want to see what is contained in age, I can just write age and hit Control Enter, and you will see the value 5 printed right next at the bottom of the cell. And let's have another variable called pi, which is a floating point number. And I want to see what is contained in pi. I will again hit Control Enter in Google Colab this particular cell, and I will see the value printed at the bottom. And let's try another one. Let's say name equal to some town, and I want to see what is in the name. Again, I also make use of this arrow sign, and it will print the value contained in the name variable. By doing this, if we just write the name of the variable, we can see what is contained in that particular variable. If I want to print all these, let's try another variable called is correct and make it a boolean variable by assigning it a value true. So now if I want to see what is in is correct, I can just hit Control Enter, and you will see true printed on the bottom. If I want to print all the values or print more than one values, then I have to make use of the print command in Python. For example, I print age, I print pi, I print name, I print is underscore correct, and then I hit Control Enter. I will see all the values of the variable. And in the next step, if I want to see or want to check the types of these variables, I need to make use of the type command and then print enter. I will see that the type of age is int. In the same way, I can also make use of this type command inside the print command. In this way, I will see the class and int, which is enclosed in the angle brackets, just shows that the age is of type int. Similarly, we can make use of type for pi and other variables. And then now I missed one of those parentheses here, in fact two of those, and if I run this again, now I see the types of all the variables printed in the output cell. How we can assign values to different variables, or multiple, we assign the variables values already in the first cell, as we just saw here. We made the assignments age equal to 5, pi equal to 3.15. In this cell we can talk about multiple assignments. For example, if we have three variables, and if I have three variables and I want to assign them different values, so I can make use of this, and you can now see print A, print B, and print C, and you will see that different values of A, B, and C are printed. If you want to have the same value assigned to one or more variables, you can make use of this. Sorry, two or more variables, and you can do it in this way. And now if you want to see the values of all these, you can print this. And here you see that now A, B, and C hold all of them hold a 0 value because of this line. So that was how we can do multiple assignments. Now if we want to swap values, in that case, if for example I have A and B, I want to swap the values of A and B. Like other programming languages, I don't need a temporary variable. Do that by just a single line. Now I would like to print A, print B. So A I had, so let's clear this. It's a 0 assignment because that doesn't make this interesting. So now I have, because of this line, I have A equal to 1 and B equal to 2. But when I execute this, I should have A equal to 2 and B equal to 1. Let's delete this one also. So we will just have the output of these print statements only. And this, now you see, print, when we print, A has the value 2 and B have the value 1, and the values have been swapped. Now to elaborate on the concept of I need to tell more about how we can change types. So we just declared A, B, C to be integer, and let's say we say that A is now hello, and here we print A, it should print 1, and here if we print A again, it should print a string. It means the type of A has been changed, but this is allowed in Python. There you see, A first has 1, and in the next instance it has value hello. Now just to elaborate the concept of local and global variables, let's declare now a function, define a function, and here I declare a variable called I am local, and I print this one first, then I print it again, and now make a call to function. As a result of this call, if I just do control enter, you will see that the local variable is printed and the global variable is printed. Now if I again try to print is underscore global, then you will see that it will not complain. Now the global, since it is accessible in the entire section of this code, so you will see I am global has been printed. But if I try to do this, the local variable is underscore local, then it will complain because it is no more accessible. It was defined inside this function here. This variable is just available in the body of this function, and the body of the function is these indented statements only, not outside that. So if we run this code now it will complain, because why it is complaining? Name is local is not defined. Where it is not defined? It is not defined in this part of the code. It is not available. The scope ended when the function ended. So that was all for today. So if you have any questions about variables, you can leave them in the comments, and likewise if you have some interesting snippets about this video, you can share those also in the comments. Thank you very much. See you next time.